So Andor has given us a look at a new Imperial cruiser. Well, it's not completely new, it's been around here and there. It gave us our first real look at it in Canon, and since every other YouTube channel seems to want to talk about it, I figured I'd jump on the bandwagon as well. Today, let's take a closer look at the Cantwell-Class Arrestor Cruiser. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Cantwell-Class Arrestor Cruiser, while it has been seen before, was given real on-screen screen time in Andor for the first time, and that gives us the perfect opportunity to actually talk about this rather fascinating Imperial starship that played some very particular roles. Now, while we don't know a lot about the length of the ship, we can make some estimated guesses based on what we see on screen. It appears to be on the smaller side, likely around the scale of an interdictor cruiser, so somewhere between a Gazanti and an ISD, which, by the way, I know is a huge range, but bear with me on that one. But we know it has a Class 2 hyperdrive and a Class 12 backup hyperdrive, just in case the primary one fails. As for weapons, its primary armament is a trio of RT-17 repulsor tractor beam emitters. These are the large dishes we see on the vessel. This allows the ship to very easily stop any ship in its tracks, grabbing it with some of the most powerful tractor beams in the Imperial fleet. On top of that, it had 3 turret-mounted heavy twin ion cannons, one mounted port and starboard as well as one on the ventral hull, and 12 light laser cannons scattered across the vessel. On top of that, it could carry 2 squadrons, including various different types of TIE fighters, from the standard TIE LN to TIE Interceptors, TIE Bombers, and likely TIE Reapers, as well as various types of shuttles and boarding craft, including one of the rare on-screen appearances of a TIE boarding shuttle, which we see in Andor. As for crew, it's manned by 2,700 officers and enlisted personnel, and its onboard garrison is usually about 144 stormtroopers, but it can carry several thousand if needed. It was manufactured by Kuat Drive Yards, although interestingly, not for the Imperial Navy, but for the Imperial, basically, police force. You see, these ships were designed specifically for chasing down pirates. Their massive tractor beams and arrays of ion cannons serve a very particular role, disabling and capturing vessels as opposed to outright destroying them. Now, as we can see, it is armed with laser cannons and does have a squadron of fighters on board, so it's more than capable of dishing out lethal force if need be, but it has a vast array of tools for capturing vessels and bringing them in for inspections or whatnot. Now, while they were originally designed and manufactured for the Imperial Police Force, they fell into favor with the Imperial Navy shortly thereafter. See, the Imperial Navy fighting a rebellion found it to be rather advantageous to be able to capture their enemies and interrogate them as opposed to destroying them outright. And while the Arrestor Cruiser doesn't quite have the same sort of intimidation factor as something like an ISD or even a Gazanti, it does serve a very practical purpose when fighting a group like the Rebel Alliance. Another interesting role that we actually see these cruisers fill, at least in deleted scenes, is the role of training ships. There was a scene that was intended for Solo, a Star Wars story, that was supposed to depict Han being trained as a TIE fighter pilot with the Imperial Navy. He would have been training from one of these Arrestor cruisers when he failed to land and actually crashed in its hangar. This would lead to him being court-martialed and sent to Mimband, which we actually do see in the movie. Now, that scene was ultimately cut, but the Arrestor Cruiser did actually appear in Solo, where it's seen in the background in an Imperial recruitment advertisement. The first time it really significantly appeared on screen is the one that brought it to our attention now, its appearance in Andor, where we see it fulfilling the role it was designed to do, stopping ships that are suspected of carrying out piracy or questionable actions so they can be inspected by Imperial forces. However, as we see in the show, the ship is ultimately severely crippled by Luthen's ship and left in a severely damaged state, a significant escalation for the Rebel Alliance. And that's all we've seen from the ship so far in canon, but it actually has a pretty interesting backstory outside of the Star Wars universe. The ship was originally designed as basically a concept for what the Imperial-class Star Destroyer would look like way back in A New Hope, and while that concept ultimately wasn't chosen, and in my opinion the one that they chose looks more menacing than this, it's cool to see this ship finally get some screen time, and seeing it actually deployed by the Imperial Navy in canon. And one last little tidbit I'd like to throw in there before we wrap up here is that the Cantwell-Class Arrestor Cruiser is named after a man named Colin Cantwell, who originally drew the plans for this ship back when they were working on the original Star Wars. But ultimately, the Cantwell-Class Arrestor Cruiser fits within the larger scheme of the Imperial Navy, which had a variety of different ships. And if you'd like to learn about some of the vessels used by the Imperial Navy, I'll leave a link up here to a video I have all about that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Arrestor Cruiser. Do you think it looks better than the ISD? Do you think they should have used this design as opposed to the one they ended up going with? Or do you think this fits the role of a police patrol ship more than a massive battleship? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, leave it down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.